Меня зовут Кетелев Дмитрий, я работаю в Стокгольмской школе экономики в России, я директор корпоративных программ, и поскольку мы тесно связаны со Швецией, то некоторые шведские компании и опыты нам хорошо известны. И вот одна из таких замечательных компаний, это компания CANEA, которая уже более 20 лет разрабатывает решения в области IT, которые поддерживают управление бизнесом. Понятно, что тема диджитализации очень широкая, емкая, здесь есть много аспектов, которые она затрагивает. Но вот мы сегодня хотели бы затронуть именно цифровизацию управления, системы управления бизнесом. И я рад вам представить наших коллег из Швеции. Первый коллега – это Клайс Берлин. Клайс здесь. Клайс долгое время работал в индустрии, в ракетной индустрии, он работал в компании, которая занимается разработкой IT-решений и электроники для запуска ракет в космос, был директором по качеству и занимался развитием команд и бизнес-процесс-менеджментом в этой компании. Потом я рад вам представить Эрика Вестерберга, основатель компании CANEA, которая занимается разработкой IT-решений. И Даниэла Стена, он занимается разработкой продуктов. Ну, на этом моя скромная роль заканчивается. Я с удовольствием передаю слово Клайсу для того, чтобы мы начали. Что такое цифровая трансформация компании? Затем трансформация, оптимизация и акселерация. В чем разница? И что это такое? Дальше диджитализация систем управления, о том, что я уже сказал. Как транслировать цифровой... How to translate the digitalization of business management into practice.
You mean you can read English?
Yes, I understand. How to implement a strategy and support it with IT cases and cases of implementation of future trends. So now I finished. Thank you.
Okay, I've been working in rocket science for about 30 years in Saab Ericsson company in Sweden, and working with commercial satellites, scientific satellites, a lot of things up there. I started my consultant company 10 years ago, so I try to share my learnings with people who would like to listen, perhaps you. Okay? When looking about organizations, because now we're going to business process management, operation excellence, etc., it's very important to have a holistic understanding of an organization. And today I say in the competitive world of a lot of companies that can do the same things, what I can do, you can do, perhaps in some years, what Volvo can do, Toyota can do, Mercedes can do, perhaps Lada can do, out of us, right? It's very important not only what you do, it's how you do things in a smart way. And in a global market there is competition. It's a way how to survive, right? To find a smart way of working, smart way of business models, etc., etc. And we can also look on a picture like this. What do you see here? Say something what you see here. The fish? Shark? Some more? Teamwork? Optimization? Good. On the market, who is the shark on the market? The company's competitors. Some more sharks. Any other sharks? Government. Could be, right? But there is another shark. It's ourselves. Because you cannot change the government so much, right? You cannot change the competitors, but you can develop yourself. Are you willing or not to do it, right? So many organizations look like this, very deep hierarchical organizations, for instance. Especially I found it here in Russia. I've been here in Russia for 20-25 years. I've seen some of these hierarchical companies. And how to work with processes, process flows. instead of looking this way, we look that way. This is what we will talk about today with the team here. We got this. Can you click one? One more. We click on this. So here you see Chalmers University of Technology. It's my school. And here I do bachelor classes in business process management by lectures and by workshops, learning by doing. So it's a mix of lectures and doing it yourself. So this is on bachelor level. And here you see on Lomonosov, when you see the Stockholm School of Economics on executive management, EMBA level. And here is also out in Russian companies. So it's practical learning, practical tools. Okay? So now I give the word over to CANEA. Eric, please.
Okay. It's a seminar now. It's conducted in the way that I will run a few minutes, 5-10 minutes of theory, and Daniel will explain how the world will be digitalized according to the theory afterwards, and then I will have 5-10 minutes again, and we will look into what it could look like when it's digitalized. So let's start to continue where class was. We have been through the agenda, so let's 2 minutes about what we are doing. We are a consultancy company. We do 3 things. We have 3 lines of business. We are management consultants helping organizations. Second thing we are doing, we are running training courses on the open market for anyone really to attend. The training courses are usually 1 to 5 days, and there are some kind of test and certification at the end. We develop, sell and implement IT solutions to make it reality. For example, let's take project management. We help companies to improve their project management. But we also run training courses in project management. We implement, develop and sell IT system for project management. So it's but they can be integrated, but they can also be singular and stand alone. So that's what we do. We have our base in Sweden, but we have around 20 partners around the world. Among them, Claes and Dimitri here in Moscow. I'm not going to be so lengthy about what we are doing and who we are. But myself, I once was a student like you. I just told people around that I always took part in lectures held by outsiders coming to Chalmers University. So I have heard a lot of, I was always interested in what was going on, and now I'm here having a lecture for you, so I know what it was like. So let's start a little bit. An introduction to management systems. Claes showed that picture. I'm going to drill down a little bit in the theory. As Claes said, the normal organizational structure around the world would be to have a line organization. You see the line organizational units here, the example. You have sales here, you have development here, you have production here. And we see a general problem around the world, and that is that each one of the parts in the organizational structure, they will optimize for themselves. What does that mean? Let's look at sales here. The sales department has an objective. You know which one? To sell, of course. So to meet the budget, or to be above the budget or something, that's the target here. So what will they do? They will sell. But unfortunately we have competitors around, and we know our competitors. We know, for example, we have customers, and the customers will ask for delivery. They will ask for delivery to the 1st of May. We will say, that will be hard. But we also know that our competitors will, without thinking, they will promise delivery to the 1st of May. So if we are not promising delivery to the 1st of May, we will not get the order. So what will they do? They will promise delivery to the 1st of May. They will get the order, and everybody here will be happy. They will probably have some sparkling wine on Friday, and they will hand over the thing to the production department. Please carry out the order. And here they will have a headache, because they have optimized their production. Their objective here is to produce at lowest possible cost. To produce at lowest possible cost, they need to plan their production very thoroughly. Okay, now they have to skip their production plan and probably produce with machinery not capable of doing what it should, or with people not probably skilled for what to do, and they will have a lot of problems here, but they will succeed. What the sub-optimization will cause is, that's the red arrows here, each part of the organization will do what's best for themselves, but cause a headache for the other part. Let's look at development, for example. A little bit tricky. What's the objective, the normal objective for development? I'll help you. It's a little bit tricky. It's to launch the new product on time, according to plan, according to a planned cost. So they will try to launch their product according to a time schedule. Okay. We have, of course, also over-promised here when we did our development plan. To start our project, we have to promise a little bit more than we should. When we are coming closer to the end of the project, we will see that this is not going that good. We will be late and the cost will be higher. What do? We have to take away some activities that are costly, but we think that they are not so necessary. The classical ones to minimize are, for example, test or documentation. You know, you test the product before you launch it. If we're doing things right from the beginning, we don't need to test so much, we think. And if we are lucky, we'll get away with it. If we are not lucky, we will deliver the product to the market. And if we are unlucky, we will have problems at the customers. Someone has to take care of them. Usually a customer relationship department or customer service department here has to take care of the problems, because the project was closed. So the people running the project, they are not there anymore. They're doing other things. Okay, red arrows. Is this a problem? And how to cure the problem. First, how to cure the problem. The cure is known. If you read the theory books, the cure has been in the theory books for about 20 years, saying that you should focus on cross-functional business processes. Cross-functional business processes, we are going to look into them a little bit later, but the principle is to focus on the workflow through the organization and focus less on the organizational units. Okay, business processes delivering to the customers. Okay, that's a solution. Are the red arrows a problem then? Research at Stockholm Institute of Technology says that 15% of the turnover is the non-performance cost in the average Swedish corporation. 15% of the turnover. Let's look at the profit loss statement. You know, profit loss statement, this is sales here, the cost and profit. If we take the actual state, let's say we sell for 100 million euros and we are a rather profitable company, we have 10% profit margin, then the cost will be 90 million. If we are the Swedish average company with 15% non-performance cost, the red arrows, if we can take away the red arrows, we say that 15% of the turnover are unnecessary non-performance cost. We can reduce the 90 million with 15, and we have the figure 75, and we recount the profit loss statement and have a leverage on the profit 2.5 times. Okay, we can dig down in this calculation, but some small observations. If we have less profit margin than 10%, it will be even more profitable to work with the cross-functional processes to take away the red arrows, because the leverage will increase. And the second observation is, okay, you don't need to succeed to take away all the 15%. It's enough to take away a fraction of the 15%. You will still have a fantastic investment case. Well, that was a theory. Let's look into a little bit how to do this. As Claes talked about what and how, I'm going to skip that picture. The basis for the how is the management system, and let's then agree what a management system is. A management system would be different parts in the company that has to work together, like an engine in a car. For example, here we have an alternator, we have a pumping cooling equipment, we have valves, we have a crankshaft, we have lots of things that have to work together. In a company there are other parts that have to work together. We for example need IT systems, IT support, we need documentation, we need risk management, risk handling, we need internal audits, we need clear roles and responsibilities, we need to handle non-conformities, and we need to handle improvements. That's examples of things that need to be working within a corporation, and that's part of, we have objectives and strategies of course too that need to be working in a corporation. Let's look into the common headaches of the company then. The first headache is that we have no connection, or a weak connection, between the strategy and the management system. The management system is really the operations, what we are doing, and the strategy, and that's what to do, and objectives and plans and so on. The common causes that the connection between strategy and operations are weak is that those working with strategies have little insight in management system and little insight in operations. And we see also that there are plenty of objectives and plans, but they are not really connected to what's going to be carried out. Let's what we see is that the management system, the documentation, descriptions how to do things are often in place just to be in conformance with the requirements. For example, in the pharmaceutical industry, conformance with requirements is very critical. So you have to show that, but you have to show that for someone, an external auditor or something, but what happens in reality is something else. often you see that those basic things are management are not so interested in the basic things. They just count that should work, and I'll leave that to someone. Someone has to work on it, and we hope that someone take care of it. So, and if not, we'll get, oh, it didn't work. We see one bullet point here. Lots of companies have objectives, lots of objectives, and they are often by the people carrying them out not seen to be relevant, or what does the objective contribute? We fulfill the objective, but we are really not happy when we have fulfilled the objective, but because we feel that it didn't contribute. It was there, but it didn't contribute. Okay, I'll think that was a short introduction, and let's hand over to Daniel that will show you how we could cure those problems in practice by digitalization.
Steve, please. Okay. So, can you hear me with this one, or do I need this one?
Both.
Both? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, thank you, Eric. So what I will do now is to show you some live examples how you can digitalize your organizational management system to create a better connection between the strategy and the operations. That is a huge headache amongst organizations. So what we've seen in CANEA working with management systems for 20 years is that the digitalization trend is peaking now, and how you can operate within an IT solution to run your business, and we will show you live examples. So hopefully we have a good internet connection, and I will show you some examples of how to do this in real practice. Let me just see if I can get a chair here as well, so I can control the computer. So we are looking at a live environment now over the internet. So during this hour and a half, I will show you some live examples from different clients how to run your company using IT solutions in a very smart way. So let's see if we can get a connection going. Sorry for that. It's been inactive for a while. Yeah, it's the phone. I'm going through the phone. I think that would be good. Let's see if we can just get things started once again. Yeah, it's okay. Thank you. So let's see. This is a management system for a company, and the employees can access it through just a web browser from wherever they are. In this case, the company has digitalized their strategies. So all strategies are online in strategy dashboards. So instead of having the strategy like in a PowerPoint document somewhere hidden, the strategy is live on the intranet for all the employees. Because that is one common problem, is that companies aren't that really good on communicating and visualizing the strategy. Because the strategy is vital, the strategy is where you want to be in next year, in 5 years. So it's important for all employees to understand that strategy and how I can contribute to reach that strategy. So by digitalizing your strategy like this is a digitalized strategy. Let me show you a little bit behind the scenes what's been done here. The management team, they have digitalized the strategy by breaking it down into different perspectives, strategic focus areas, success factors, and those kind of things. So this is an example just how you can put the strategy in a IT tool like this. And one part in the strategy is the KPIs. There are KPIs here that tells you how are things going on. Are the customers happy? Do the internal processes work? What is the economy like, the finance like? What are the employee satisfaction? So you measure things in a balanced way. By measuring things, you will get a live update in this kind of strategy dashboard, where you really can see how are things going. Customers, green, finance, red, and so on. And this is live data. This is KPIs, this is indicators, getting data from all around the different systems, all around, and producing it on a strategy dashboard like this, so that the management team and the employees can see how are we really doing. And the information is aggregated and presented at top level, so we can see actually an organizational score for our performance. So this is performance management when we digitalize the strategy. A nice thing here is that we can drill down, okay? So if we are interested in customer data or staff data or internal processes data, we can just click and drill down to see parts of the strategy where we want to focus. For example, in a meeting, or if an employee is interested, we can drill down like this to see what is the production quality like at the moment. So we drill down, okay? And when we drill down like this, we can see more and more information like this. We can see what is the scoring. Is it green, yellow, red? Clear traffic lights telling the responsible people, the employees, how things are doing. And the nice thing and the important thing here that we want to tell you is how to link the strategy with the operations, because if things are not going to plan here, if things are not going to plan, we need to correct things, right? So if we open up one of the KPIs here, production deviations, we see that this is red. We have a bad trend. Things are not going very well. Then we need to execute on things. We need to do things. So then we need to initiate actions, tasks to correct things. And here we can see clearly that we are actually doing things to be better in this area of the strategy. So strategy to execution. This can be done when you digitalize your strategy. Another example, going back to the critical success factor. Another thing you need to do if you want to execute on your strategy is that you need to plan your initiatives and your strategic projects. So to be able to reach your strategy for the new year, for the next period of time, then you need to initiate projects. And that is also something you can do when you digitalize your strategy. You can define and plan all your projects and link them in the right areas of the strategy. And then it's very easy to follow up. 80% complete. Who is responsible? What is the status of that project? So that is strategy to execution, and how you can create these kind of links between the strategic KPIs and the activities going on. And for larger companies, of course, you can have many of these kind of dashboards. You can have one dashboard per site or per department or per country, and they can all sum up to aggregated level. So that was one example of how to digitalize and create better connection between strategy and operational activities. Watch out for that one.
Does this mean anything in practice then? Let's look at the research. The researcher here, Professor Kaplan at Harvard University, has investigated if a strategy contributes to success or not. And let's look a little bit at the figures here. We have some answers to some questions. We have an established process for implementation of the strategy. 54% says yes and 46% says no. The next figure is the interesting one. We achieve exceptionally good results, or we achieve better results than the industry competitors. Look now here, 70% think that have a process for the strategy think they achieve better results, and 27% that has no process for strategy think they achieve exceptionally good results. So the chance to do better than average there is a chance to do better than average if you have a good process for implementing the strategy, and Daniel showed you how to do that by digitalization. Let's look into a showcase. First, continue with the theory, how to do things. This is a theory that's we call it the hourglass model. That the model is to transform strategy into operations. And first thing, the above here, it should read business environmental analysis. You look at competitors, you look at customers, and so on. That should really be written in here, business environment analysis. From your prerequisites, you have to decide what you will be for the market and for the customers. We can call that vision. We would like to be something for someone. And we'll take an example. We are from Sweden. We are based in Gothenburg. Maybe you know that the biggest Volvo car factory is in Gothenburg. So let's take Volvo Car Corporation as an example. You know that there are cars, different cars. I have seen them all here in Moscow. You know that there are Mercedeses, there are Audis, there are BMWs. What do you think when you hear those brands? German. Oh, there are Lexus and Infiniti too. What do you think when you hear those brands? Premium cars. They are nice cars. Premium. We often talk about premium brands. There are Skodas, there are Kias, and there are Hyundais. That could be said as being a day-to-day usable car. So let's say I'm Volvo Car Corporation. I have to decide what to be. I need a vision. What should I be? Shall I be a premium brand car or a day-to-day usable car? There are some prerequisites for Volvo. They can only produce 500,000 cars, and I don't know how much a Mercedes is in Russia. But if you multiply 500,000 cars with a sale price for a Mercedes, you will get the turnover. I don't know how much a Kia is in Russia either, but if you take the production volume, 500,000 cars, and multiplied by the price for a Kia, you also have the turnover. Compare that with the cost, and you will go bankrupt very quickly if you produce just 500,000 Kias for that sale price. So we are forced to be a premium brand. So some analysis around will tell you what your vision should be. Okay, that's rather easy done. Yeah, that's no rocket science to figure out that. But the tricky thing is really to make it happen in reality. So the next step in the thinking is critical success factors. And critical success factors are: what do we need to be good at to achieve the vision or fulfill the vision? So if I'm Volvo and I would like to be a premium brand car manufacturer, I need to be good at around 4 to 5 things. I need to succeed with 4 to 5 different things. Do you know? Can you figure out an example? Safety. Yeah, you could connect safety to product quality, saying that the product should be like that. Safety, environmentally friendly, nice looking, nice design, working properly, and so on. Let's say good product quality. Anything else?
Comfort.
That's also a product connected product. Think about something else.
Reputation.
Yeah, there we have it. We need to be good at creating a premium brand image. Second one. We also need to be good at taking care of the customer after the sale. We need to be good at introducing new things, new models, new features rather often. Okay, now we have 4.
Maybe we should limit the number of premium cars.
We should
Limit the number of premium cars. If there are a lot of premium cars, that means that there are no premium cars.
there are lots of manufacturers trying to be a premium car manufacturer, but that's a competition, so we have to take care of that. There are several manufacturers that have failed to be a premium car manufacturer, even if they want to be one. So we have to be very good at those 4 to 5 things. What the theory says, that the critical success factors points out what processes, what cross-functional processes you need in your organization. The cross-functional processes are the engine of the organization. So you remember the red arrows. And a mistake done by many organizations is to rephrase your line organization to processes. Let's say we have a sales organization. Then many organizations have said that we have a sales process. We have a production organization, then we have a production process. That will not be cross-functional processes. But if we look at what we need to succeed with the critical success factor and turn them into processes, then we will find truly cross-functional processes. So let's take the example. We need to be good at creating a premium brand image. Then we will find an image creating process. If we need to launch new features rather often, then we will have a development and launch process, and they will be truly cross-functional. What we can do now also is to transform the critical success factors into objectives and plans. So what Daniel showed was the objectives broken down into the organization. We can also break down the objectives into the processes and to the organizational units to support the overall strategy. Let's look at the showcase. I prepared this showcase and I didn't know if Steel was a company known in Russia, but at the aeroplane from Stockholm to Moscow, I looked in the Aeroflot magazine in my in the seat pocket in front of me, and what did I find? An advertisement for Steel in Russia. Steel makes gardening equipment, and we did all that job according to this model. This is the model for developing the strategy, and the nice thing is, again, class, this is no rocket science, and it doesn't take very much time. To develop the business plan with the strategy was a series of workshops, and you can see how long the workshops, the duration of the workshops, not very much. We did some planning and preparation, investigating things, running a 3-day workshop with the top management, and got the result. They got some homework, and then they had we had to evaluate their homework during 1 day, and another day to refine the whole thing, and the business plan with the objectives and the strategy was ready. Isn't it fantastic? Would you invest 3 plus 1 plus 1? That's 5 days for top management to create the whole thing. I would say that investment is very valuable. At least the CEO thought so. He said that there has been a great benefit in working with those things, and we really appreciated it, and so on. let's hand over to Daniel again.
Jag tänkte du ska fortsätta med processerna, för jag har redan gjort demo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's look our favorite professor in the United States again. He says that the problem is not the ability of managers or the intelligence of managers or anything. The problem is breakdown in the company's management system. So to create that management system that keeps things and ties things together is the solution. How to do that then? You remember the red arrows? The red arrows, that's a big problem. We need to fix the red arrows, and it's very hard to do. Fortunately, it's very hard to do, because then if we succeed, we are ahead of the competition. One thing that makes it very hard to do is that, at least in Sweden, we have a tradition of a strong line organizational culture. Each company has a very strong line organization. You remember the cross-functional processes. The cross-functional processes is the basis, but they compete with the culture of the line organization. How does that work? To get the cross-functional process working, we need to appoint someone responsible for the cross-functional workflow, who decides what to do things and how to do things. Okay, if we appoint someone that has that authority will compete with the authority of the line manager. And if I'm a line manager, I don't like competition. So we have to sort out the authority between the processes and the line organization, and that's a tricky thing to do. I mentioned one problem too. There are standards like ISO 9001 that require companies to sort out their processes, but they just say what to do, not how. And the solution among many companies has to draw up processes being the same as the line organization, and you haven't solved anything if you do that. You will still have the red arrows. One thing that is very interesting, now we need some attention because we are stepping up a little bit in the theory level. If you know, each organization has objectives. If the objectives, there is a rule, basic rule, what's getting measured gets done. Have you heard it? What's getting measured gets done. So if you have objectives, prioritize that you measure the objectives in the line organization, the work will be done in a line organizational way. If you turn it to the opposite, if you have objectives being process objectives as the first priority, measuring the flow-wise organization, the workflow cross-functional in the organization. If you measure that, the workflow will be the most important thing. So if you look at an organization and look what's the structure of objectives, and in very many cases you will see that the objectives are structured according to the line organization. It's very hard then to succeed with the cross-functional workflows. What we see is that the responsibilities and authorities for the workflows are unclear. It's very hard to do things if you have unclear authority and responsibility. And the consequences, we have been talking about them. Okay, to cure the thing, really to cure the thing, top management has to do the exercise to define their processes according to this model, to connect strategy with operations, to ask themselves what's the business environment, what's our vision, what's our critical success factors, and what processes do our critical success factors point out. That's an exercise taking about 3 days to do. And then you need to digitalize the whole thing. And I think now it's your turn.
Thank you, Eric. So, very good. So let's have a look. To be able to, let's see. Sorry for that. Okay. So to be able to succeed with your processes, Eric has been talking a lot about processes, right? But to be able to how do you really do? How do you practically do with your processes? How do you model them? How do you communicate them? How do you improve them? How do you automate them? Let's have a look. So first thing, modeling processes. Modeling processes can be done in many different ways. Here's an example, just to explaining ways of working. What are you actually doing? Instead of writing long instructions and long text documents, you just, in many cases, this is enough. Explaining way of working. This is roles. Explaining responsibilities, because that is important. Responsibilities and the information flows and the way of working. So this is really the first step, doing the actual modeling of the processes. And this is all types of processes in an organization. How do you run the company? How do you do sales? How do you do marketing? From the cross-functional perspective to the end customer perspective. So it's always from input and output to customers, internal customers or external customers. So it's cross-functional, and this is a tool helping you as an example how you can digitalize way of working with your processes, how you can really model the processes. And one important thing as well when doing modeling of processes is not only to create a static image or static model, you want to make it more dynamic. So for the employees can easily understand way of working, but also click to find more information and support, for instance, KPIs, documents, external websites. So this is fully linkable. So let's see how this will turn out from the end user perspective. When the end user logs in, it can look like this. So this is the main process chart. This is all processes in an organization. Maintain customers, plan operations, manufacture products, deliver products to customers. So this is what they are doing, right? So for the end user, you can just click on the different parts, the different processes to find out more. What about HR, for instance? Human relations. So we can click on the different parts here, and then we will get more information about that part of the organization. How do we do recruitment? How do we onboard new personnel, for instance? How do we take care of our employees? How do we do offboarding of personnel? And then we can click even more to find out details. So this is a drill down, okay? So we can find out. So from the end user perspective, you can really get a good understanding of how should we work in the best way, the best practice. So now we are on this level once again, so we can learn how to do it in the best way. So this is a support. Processes is a support for the employees to do the right things over and over again. So you don't do things the way just you want, because then it will be trouble in the end when you're a large organization, of course. This is a model of the process, but this is not just a model. This is a process dashboard, and what is that? Because it's to be able to improve this process, You want to engage your employees so they can easily communicate, post information, find information, see the measures. So this is kind of a dashboard, getting all things together from the end user perspective. So I can click here to find out more, for instance, about how many job applications have we got at the moment. So I just click on that one, okay? Or if I want to find out more information about some certain activities, I can just click here, and then I will find that document or those documents that will help me with that activity. So this is how the software can support me in the different working activities, the different processes in the organization. Okay, so now we have been looking at how to model the processes, how to communicate them through this type of graphical interface so that everyone understands, how we can measure them, because all the KPIs you can see, green, yellow, red, we can see exactly live picture what is the results from the different processes. We are good with delivering, we are not that good with purchasing at the moment, and then we can drill down and find out. So this is measurement. The next thing is automation. How can we automate these kind of processes? So automation is often called workflows or case management. That means that you actually work in the software in the process. Let me show you an example. So we can have one of the examples here is, for instance, deviation, when something goes wrong. So instead of sending an email when something goes wrong, or writing a document or whatever, you can actually start a process in these kind of tools. So when you start the process, so instead of having it like a dead data, like a mail, this will be live data, because this is electronic forms that you be filled in, and then the form, the digital form, will follow a set up process. So the next person will get an email saying you have this information, something went wrong, please do an analysis, please do an action, please do a follow-up. So this will be automated and much more effective than doing this in a manual way. So that's the first thing. When digitalizing your processes, things will go right from the beginning, all the way from beginning to end in the process. So you actually work in the tool in the process like this. The second business effect you will get when digitalizing your processes is that you will then get, because this is live data, and when it's live data you can then monitor the process and see actually what is the status of this process at the moment. So we can see all things going on in the process, and we can see exactly where the different cases are at the moment. So instead of having all the information spread out in mailboxes and so on, we can see exactly who is responsible, what is the status, what is prioritized and so on when digitalizing the processes. This is truly effective when digitalizing processes like this. Because what you also can do when it's live data is that you can analyze all the data ad hoc. So you can just say, give me all cases, show me all cases per creation date, and I will get all the data, and I can then analyze it like this to see when were they created, how many, which type and so on. So I can really use business intelligence to learn from the data, because the data is now structured in our processes, and that's a huge difference compared to having dead data in Word documents or mailboxes. Some examples how you can practically work with processes. Thank you. Back to Eric.
Does this work in practice? You remember the red arrows. Is it possible to take them away, or at least decrease them a little bit? A showcase, Temporent, what do? As the name suggests, they do temporary office equipment, office space. They build up an office modules like that for rental, and they disassemble them and take them away later when they are not needed. The interesting results are, research said that 15% of the turnover was unnecessary due to bad performance, unnecessary costs due to bad process performance. we are a little bit academic from time to time, so we made some measurements to measure how much unnecessary unnecessary cost due to bad process performance, how much they had. So let's have a look. The interesting figure is that we together with Temperament measured their unnecessary cost due to bad performance, and they had 18% of the turnover. Okay. When we sorted them out in a gigantic Excel spreadsheet, we together with them found out that 11% of those unnecessary costs were possible to take away within a 2-year period. 11% could be taken away with small investments in money and time. A 2-year project, you don't work on it every day. It took 2 years, but you work on it from time to time to improve the processes, improve the objectives, improve the competence. First year, 4% was taken away, and the second year, let's see. First year 4% was taken away. Next year another 5% was taken away. So summing it up, 9% of the 18 was taken away during 2 years. And if you recalculate their profit loss statement with the 9%, it's a fantastic result. And the company was sold after that with a large profit for the management that also were part shareholders. So it was a success for the people involved in the project. Next headache. We have talked about 2 headaches so far. Another global headache. Many companies run projects. They run a lot of projects, and the headache is that projects rarely keep their promises. And the broken promise is time, cost and quality. Time, cost and delivery. So they shoot over budget, shoot over time schedule, and what's promised in the beginning wasn't delivered. That's a true problem. The problem can be solved, and you have to attack the root causes of the problem. One of the root causes is that you have no structure. Many companies have no structured way of executing their projects. There is a project maturity ladder that can be investigated, and at least if you take some steps on the maturity ladder consists of increasing the structured way of executing projects. And if you build a common way of executing projects, you will keep your time and cost better than if you don't. And we can see the consequences. The solution is to have a structured way of executing projects, having competence to run projects, and to digitalize the way you run projects. And I'm quickly going to hand the microphone over to Daniel, who will show how you can digitalize projects.
Thank you. So there are two main, let's say, way of working in an organization. You can work in your processes or in projects. You know the difference? Processes is when you do the same thing over and over again and you expect a certain result. But you do the same activities over and over and over again. That's processes. Projects is when you want to achieve a certain thing in a certain time with a certain group of people at a certain cost. A unique thing. That's a project. So that's just the difference. Processes, projects. And digitalizing processes, we have looked at that, and now I just show you some examples how you can also digitalize the project work in an organization. Because the project work have some other, let's say, capabilities from a digital perspective, okay? So let's have a look. Let's go back to the management system. We can go into the projects. So projects can be, of course, of any kind. Can be huge construction projects. From an organizational view, it can be marketing projects, IT projects, transformation projects. It can be of any kind, different types of projects. And projects is often run in a phase-gate model. There are different ways of running a project, but often a phase-gate model. And why is that? Because often you want to do some kind of pre-work, pre-study to investigate things. And then you want to have some kind of gate saying, should we continue, should we stop? And then we go into the execution phase. We do things, we actually carry out the work. And then we have a gate controlling, are we on track, should we continue? And then we go into next phase, and then we follow up and close the project and hand over to the business. So projects is a little bit different than processes in that way. They are temporary work at a certain time schedule, right? So this is an example of how to digitalize projects, where you can see projects going on, where they are in status, and also who is the manager of the different projects here. Let's open up one of the projects. So if we open up one of the projects here, we can see, for instance, let's have a look at the phase and gate model. We can see where we are developing. We can see the gates and the different parts here. And the project team can easily see what's going on in the project, because in a project there are often a lot of information. And a common problem is that information is spread out in many different ways. You have the planning is maybe in some kind of a Gantt chart somewhere. The risk analysis is in some Excel sheet. The documentation is on some SharePoint portal or some OneDrive or something like that in the cloud. Status reporting is somewhere else. So there is a huge dilemma that project information is spread out everywhere. So by using a project tool, you can actually collect that information in one platform. So you can have, make it easier for the project team to really work in the project and to collaborate and to update and to post information. So this is an example of a project portal. I will show you just some quick examples how you can digitalize your projects. And this is a nice one where you can actually plan your project, because in some projects, and often in the huge projects, construction projects and so on, you need to break down what you want to do. So we need to define what should this project really do. First we need to do this, then we need to do that, and so on. So this is how you can do this digitalizing, meaning that you can actually live in this environment just create your different tasks and activities like this, and you can name them, and you can publish them, and so on in a tool like this online, instead of having that on papers, on walls and so on. Because often in an organization, employees, they are spread out, they are working from different locations, working from home and so on. So you need to digitalize these kind of things to get everyone up to date and things ongoing. Okay. Another great business benefit using by digitalizing your project is that you get the top level overview. Let me show you. So we leave this project now and we just take a top view of the project. And this is extremely nice business benefits for the top management and project office, because then you can, when you digitalize your projects, you get the live data, you know, and then you can monitor the project and see how are all projects doing at the moment, and more importantly, what is the status of our projects. So you can see how are the projects doing when it comes to cost, quality, risk, time. So the top management easily can see things are not going that well with that project or that project, and then we can take proper actions in time before it's too late. So by digitalize your projects, you get these kind of overviews. This is often called portfolio management in project terminology. Portfolio management, because many projects are called portfolios of projects, right? So this is how you can get an overview. And often in portfolio, and when you do portfolio analysis, you want to get a good overview also of cost and the time. So when digitalizing your project, you can easily also monitor what's the cost, what's the budget, what's the actual, what's the forecast. You really can get a nice overview of the totals, the full finance for your projects, because you do projects. Why do you do projects? You want to reach some strategic goals, you have some objectives, and then you have investments in your projects to reach that. Then you want to monitor that very nice like this. So that is some quick examples how you can digitalize your project portfolio and your different types of projects. Thank you. Back to Eric.
Thank you. I'm going to summarize the thing. What we have said now is known. People who have been working in the industry have run into these problems, and they often see them and they feel them and they are angry about them. Lots of things have been done to solve the problem previously also, and things with IT is nothing new. But so far what we have seen, it's very easy to overcomplicate things. It's much easier to make things complicated in an IT solution. It's much easier to make things complicated than make them simple. So let's look at the big problem around. It's that all those system and the management system is so complicated that it's easier just to skip the thing and carry out the task without using the support of the management system, and then you have the red arrows again. So simplicity is the rule. And okay, the message here is, if it's complicated, it will not be used, and the consequences is that the non-performance costs will raise. Okay, you are all leaving school someday. You will get an exam, and you will let's slide up looking for the conclusion slide here. When you walk out the door, you're working for companies, you can take this recipe with you, what to do. What to do to cure the problem you will see when you work in real life. Watch out for the processes. Try to contribute with the idea how to create real cross-functional processes by as managers, introduce the idea and agree on what cross-functional processes we have, and create a common view in the organization. Let's also concentrate a little bit on the objectives. Let's see, we map and improve the processes. You need to, Daniel showed you a little bit how you map processes in the tool. You can do that by paper also, but map the processes and think about what support you need to run the processes. Simplify and minimize and scrap unnecessary things. One thing that we haven't talked so much about is to audit the organization to find problems. Do audits and ask people what they think about the organization and the ways of working, and analyze the results you get and attack the root cause of the problems. Perform audits to find improvements in the organization. I think what we have something more here. Introduce risk management. That's an advanced course. That's to think about what could happen and introduce countermeasures before things happen. Create a project model. Create a project model that's adapted to your way of conducting projects. Many organizations have a model to conduct projects. It's also easy to complicate that and have the very big and very complicated control model for projects. But many organizations, they run projects that are simpler. It will be very heavy to run a simple project with a heavy model. So adapt the project model to the size and the complication, the grade of complication for projects. Okay, that's a recipe. Think about it when you run into problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.